Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 6 at Churchill Downs on Stephen Foster Saturday is the Grade 2 Wise Dan Stakes. It's a $250,000 event. We're going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. It's Breeders' Cup win and you're in season. Never too early to get your Breeders' Cup merchandise with the help of DRF. Head on over to breederscupshop.com. Any purchase of $30 or more, you get 2 of those lovely Breeders' Cup World Championships glasses. Let's take a look at the field for the Grade 2 Wise Dan Stakes. Interesting return spot, Mike, for the 7. It's in the Post, who certainly has credentials. He's a 10-time winner. He's banked $1.2 million. His form is dotted with triple-digit buyer speed figures. But he's going to have to do this off of an extremely long layoff. And at the age of 7, the questions have to at least start creeping in whether he's going to be as good as he was when he was younger.
Yeah, of course. You have to always worry about that, especially for a horse like him, who the last time we saw him, it was the summer of last year, and he was pretty badly off form at that time. He was not running his best races. So, you know, we'll see how he comes back. We'll see if this is just a starting off point for a horse who, for the most part, has done most of his damage going a little bit longer than this. You know, we'll see how all that stuff plays out. But on his best day, this is a real good horse.
It doesn't appear there was any kind of injury for It's in the Post. Those 2 races that you mentioned were just so poor and just so unlike It's in the Post that Jeff Mullins kicked him out on the farm, gave him a break, and decided to bring him back as a 7-year-old. And patience usually works out in this game. I just wonder if it's going to work out going 1 mile and a 16th, first time back off the long layoff. Let's take a look at the number 9, Inspector Lindley for Shug McGahee. And this horse just often shows up with a good performance. He's a horse that's earned over almost $700,000, already a multiple stakes winner this year, including taking the Grade 3 Tampa Bay over the talented Divisadero. Last time out in the Dixie, I thought he ran okay. I expected him to run better.
Yeah, I guess I did too. You know what? He fits really well in this race, though. He's one of those horses who, you know, early in his career, he got unlucky several times. It felt like he just didn't have the right running style. He was always trying to make up too much ground. He's much handier now. They can put him in races earlier than they used to. I just think he fits really well in this race.
6 Siem Reap is expected to make the pace, according to the Timeform US pace projector. The problem is Siem Reap might have to undergo a red bar situation, which means he might have to go fast in order to do it. Last time out, James Graham really hustled him and got him into the race early. He made the pace, he backed it down, he beat 3 of these common rivals, and he also beat Ohm, who came back to run a good second in the Jaipur with a 102 buyer. I've always been a fan of Siem Reap. I think a fast-paced situation, though, works against him as he steps up in class.
Right, and in addition to all those other positives that you mentioned about his last race, he also paid over $70 that day. He's going to be a much shorter price this time. I think the pace scenario is a lot different for him. He's a nice horse. I don't think he gets the kind of trip this time that he got in that last one.
The horse expected to push him early is the 8, Noble Commander. Will be trying turf for the first time for a very good turf trainer in Phil D'Amato. This horse was purchased for $135,000 in January. He scored last time out in an optional claiming race at Indiana Grand, utilizing good tactical speed. Forestry, the sire, 10% with first-time turf runners. You go way back in the family. Noble Damsel's the 4th dam. The problem is closer up in the family are dirt horses like Marley's Freedom. I wish there was a little more turf closer up.
I felt the same way about him. You know, he does have speed, and I guess he'll be part of the pace in this race. We'll see if he takes to the turf. I'm not that optimistic about it.
Get Western's 50-1, but maybe he can tuck in behind the early leaders and work out a decent trip following his now winners of one other than score last time out. They stretched him back out. He ended up close to the pace. It was nice to see he could pop a 90 buyer. The problem is he's facing several horses in this race that have run triple-digit buyers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to win this race. I think 50-1 is probably too big a price on him. His turf form is not bad. He could get a good trip in this race and get a piece of it.
First Premio, the 3 can get the right kind of trip. That's just the kind of horse he is. He won the Colonel Bradley with that kind of trip, just sitting third, waiting a bit, bulling his way out an upper stretch, and then getting it done over a weaker field, to be sure. Last time out in the opening verse, he got wired by Siem Reap. I was a little disappointed with that effort, but this is a horse that really seems to appreciate 1 mile and a 16th, and you can count on him getting a good trip. The Cassie Barn's going very well. I could see this horse at a price.
I can too, and he's the kind of horse who I would just want to use somewhere. You know, he's he can be a little frustrating because he won't always show up and run his best race, but his good race is really good. And if he gets the right trip in this race, I expect him to be there at the end.
Are you a little surprised that they're trying turf right now with the 14 Bourbon Resolution? 2 starts back, he won the Grade 3 Ben Ali at Keeneland, and he was just simply overmatched in the Ali Sheba. He was 7-1 against horses like McKinsey, Tom's d'Etat, Seeking the Soul, Tom's d'Etat and Seeking the Soul, ending up in the Stephen Foster a little bit later on Saturday. Tries turf for the first time, New Year's Day, a little early to tell, 13% with first-time turf runners. The Dam did win twice on the turf. The Dam is a half to a turf stakes winner. The second Dam was Grade 3 placed on the turf. The Dam has foaled 1 first turf winner. So there's a little bit of turf in the pedigree. It's just a lousy post position.
Yeah, bad post, and making your turf debut against horses like this, that's not easy either. He does have a little pedigree to handle it, though.
Let's talk a little bit about the number 10, El Picaro. This is the mystery horse. Lacks pace data because he has never raced in the United States. Technically a 3-year-old because he's foaled in October. It's on Southern Hemisphere time. Now, he was the big favorite last time out, and he could not get by a gigantic long shot, but the 4th place finisher of that race came back to win our colleague Matt Bernier's favorite race, the El Derby, a Group 1, and then won another Group 1 after that. So that race might be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're getting off of the long layoff. He might want a little bit more distance, but yeah, he won 5 in a row prior to that most recent start.
I mean, who knows how good he is. I guess you could also give him the 1.5 mile excuse last time. He just might not want to go that far. This could be a much better distance for him. The question is, how good is he? And I don't really have the answer for it. He's good down there. I don't know if it matches up well over here.
It's another one of those Michael Maker claims in the 13 Cullum Road. I don't see him at 6-1 on the morning line against this bunch, but Maker claimed him for 62.5. Heck, stakes placed in the Dueling Grounds Derby, graded place last time out in the Fort Marcy. Although I think last time out was one of those times where he loves a little cut in the ground, and he got it.
He did, and he also got a really good trip in that race. And yeah, he got a Grade 3 placing. That's all well and good. It was also, I don't know, a 3 or 4 horse photo for that 3rd place position. He got it, so good for him. I'm a Cullum Road fan. I've liked him from the time when George Weaver had him early on, and I'm not surprised that Maker's getting the most out of this horse right now, but in races like this, he's in tough.
Number 2 is Alright, who should be able to save a little bit of ground. No match for First Premio, 2 back at Keeneland, last time out in the Cliffhanger. Ran into a decent field. I mean, Mo Maverick came back and blew a 15-length lead in the Kingston with a 94 buyer when he tried it on the old Bill Daly. Alright, again, is a useful horse that I've never thought was like a Grade 2 type.
We look at him the exact same way, and he's a big price for a reason.
Hot Springs, though, I think did show something last year, especially at Churchill Downs, where he is 4 for 5 now. Steve Asmussen gave him a little bit of a break. He came back first-time older horses. He happened to catch bricks and mortar in his first race as an older horse, and he also caught a race with no pace whatsoever, and there just wasn't any closing going on. Last time out in the opening verse, can you make an excuse? He got wired again by Siem Reap. I mean, I think this horse has sleeper potential written all over him at 10-1.
Yeah, I think he does too. His first start off the layoff in that Muniz that you're talking about where there was no pace, he got a good trip in there, but he didn't run poorly at all, I didn't think. I feel like he's one of those horses, and maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me if I am, but I think you liked this horse in some of those races we did last year. I wasn't as big a fan as you were. I think you were more right than I was. This horse is actually pretty good.
Holiday Stone steps up in class again. They've tried him many times against graded stakes competition, and he was second in the Transylvania in 2017, but out of this point, it just seems like an optional claiming, a low-level listed type horse. He's now with Eddie Keneally, who's just on absolute fire at Churchill Downs. And I like the fact that this horse overcame a slow pace last time out. Might get a good scenario here, but I like him at a mile or shorter. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, no, I like him at a mile or shorter too. I did like his last race. I thought he ran well in there. It's also, I guess, worth just pointing out that when you go back to that El Prado at Gulfstream in February, he just had an impossible trip that day. He got shuffled out of position, never came clear. But other than that, I mean, he doesn't really look like the kind of horse who's going to be winning races like this.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 2 Wise Dan Stakes. You're going with the 11. March to the Arch, who ran really well, only beaten 4 lengths by the aforementioned Bricks and Mortar, who came back to win another Grade 1 in the Manhattan with a 106 buyer speed figure. March to the Arch is coming into his own for Mark Casse, and I like that Tampa Bay win, that confidence booster to kick off his season. It kind of hinted that maybe this horse has found himself over the winter.
Yeah, I've always liked this horse. I will say that he was obviously never going to win the Turf Classic last time, but he actually ran pretty well in there. I do think he needs firm ground. If he doesn't get firm ground, I would tread a little lightly with him. But on firm ground, this horse's race is pretty good. I also feel like he's probably better going a mile and an eighth than a mile and a 16th. But 6-1 on the morning line feels light to me. I felt like he could drift off that. I don't think I would take too short a price on him, Dan, but I think he actually fits really well. I think it's sort of sneaky that he fits really well on this race.
Such a tough race to make a morning line. I mean, 5-1 is the favorite on the morning line. We got I believe, 5-1 morning line favorites. The 12 admission office is 5-1 on the line. You liked this horse last time out in the Dixian. I'm curious about the trip. I mean, he was kind of buried down towards the inside. He's last on the rail turning into the stretch with a lot of work to do, especially with Catholic Boy, a horse that you have to catch. And I like the way he was kind of weaving in between horses. He altered course down towards the rail. He was really firing late and galloped out well. Is this still too short for him?
I don't think it is. I think this is actually a good distance for him. I thought he ran well last time. You know, I kind of get what Rosario was doing, and to Rosario's credit, he did keep finding room for this horse in the stretch, and this horse kept coming, but this horse is good. He's another one of those, you know, Chad Brown 3-year-olds. He was all potential last year. I think he's really starting to put it together. I do think he's the horse to beat here.
I think you got to use him. 11, 12, 9, and 7 for Mike. 11, 14, 6, and 3 for me. In the Grade 2 Wise Dan, race number 6 at Churchill Downs on Stephen Foster Saturday. Get those 2 Breeders' Cup World Championship glasses courtesy of BreedersCupShop.com and DRF. Enter your code DRF 2-pack after a purchase of $30 or more. Approximate post time for one of my favorite races of the year, the Wise Dan, 8:37 Eastern. Good luck.